Good evening and welcome to the November 18th regular school board meeting for the Duluth Public Schools, and I call this meeting to order at 6:36. Thank you for our patience with us today. I'd like to move on to roll call. Clerk?
Member Banks. Chair Durgater.
Here.
Member Loeffler-Kemp. Here. Member Lofold.
Here.
I'm Member Mixell. I am here. Member Sadowski.
Here.
Member Williams.
Here.
Superintendent Magus.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Bonds. Present. Deputy Clerk Zunich.
Present.
Board Secretary Paquette. Oh, she was hiding. ALC Student Rep Taylor is excused. Denfeld Student Rep Garnes is excused. East Student Rep Dean.
Here.
Roll call is complete.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please stand if you're able, and our flags are located here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would like to now move on to approval of our agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Member Lofold has moved the agenda forward. Do we have a second?
Second. Okay.
Member Sadowski has seconded it. Do we have any discussion on the agenda? Member Banks?
Thank you very much. I would like to move that we pull the field trips that are coming up. There's like 4 of them that will be coming up in 2026. And I would like to have just a brief discussion or get some clarification on 1 or 2 of them for sure. So if that could be moved from the consent agenda to our regular agenda.
So Member Banks, I believe the agenda item is 1B, 4B?
That is correct.
All right. So Member Banks has moved to pull the field trip request from the consent agenda. Do we have a second? No. No. Okay. So we've pulled that from the agenda and.
Point of order.
Yes.
Point of order would be that this item would not be pulled from the consent agenda, I believe,
Okay.
until we vote on the consent agenda. So right now, we don't have to approve, we don't have to pull that for our regular board meeting.
Okay.
We would pull that when we get to the consent, which is exactly what we want to do. But we don't need to do that approval right now.
Okay, so Member Lofold, so we will, Member Banks, when we come to discussion of the consent agenda, would you please bring these agenda items back up? We'll pull them off at that time, handle the rest of the consent agenda, and then move on with those items after the consent agenda.
May I just suggest
Yeah.
that we see what Robert's Rules of Order say regarding
Got
it?
it.
Member Lofold has it. Right here, Member Lofold?
That, but I've also got the cheat sheet for it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have my cheat sheet, but it is there. Yeah,
Is it this one?
So, well, mine is point of order, and then you want to. It is. Yeah, it's going to be.
Just give us 1 minute, thank you.
Subsidiary motion. It is .4 to amend or substitute. But it, yeah. Just no.
Point of order.
Member Williams.
I guess to kind of go off of what Member Lofold said, the motion on the table was to approve
The
the
agenda.
consent agenda.
No, approve the
the agenda.
agenda.
Approve, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
to approve the agenda. However, in discussion, Member Banks brought up a new motion, but we can't do that motion because the first motion to approve the agenda is still on the table. Like, you can't do a motion within a motion.
Yep. So that leaves us. So Member Banks, would you be amenable if we all agree it's okay? We'll approve the agenda and then we'll come back at the consent and pull it in the discussion of the consent agenda?
I'm amenable to that. However, that was not my understanding as to Robert's Rules of Order. And but I am amenable to what Member Williams is suggesting and Member Lofold.
So then, at that point, Member Banks, would you be comfortable pulling off that at this point so we can vote on the motion to approve the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So Member Banks has withdrawn his request to pull 1B, 4B off of the consent agenda. So now we're back to the original motion, which is where we have Member Lofold has moved the consent agenda forward. Member Sadowski has seconded it. We've had some lively discussion. And so now we are going to vote on the agenda. So all those in favor of the approval of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda has passed. Now, moving on with bated breath and our very full room here, we're moving on to school and community recognition. So thank you so much for everybody being here today. I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Thank you, and good evening, Board, and good evening, everyone who has joined us. First, I would like to call up the History Day advisors, if they could come up, as well as the 4 students who made it to the Nationals. And then other students, as I indicated, you will have the opportunity to also join us and introduce your project in a moment as well. So advisors, as well as the 4 students, you can come on up, those who made it to Nationals. Dear members of the board and community, tonight I am pleased to honor and recognize a group of exceptional students who have distinguished themselves in the National History Day competition. Their dedication, passion for history, and remarkable achievement deserves our utmost recognition. We had over 25 students in our district qualify and compete at the State History Day competition. 4 of those students went on to the Nationals. Lila Ronkinen qualified for her project called Wisconsin versus Yoder, a compromise between religious rights and educational responsibilities. Recognize yourself. There you go. Margaret Johnson qualified for the 2nd year in a row, so congratulations, for her website called the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness Act of 1978, protecting Americans' right to pristine wilderness. Congratulations. Annalise George and Anya Erickson qualified for their group documentary called The Asylum to the Community-Based Model, Mental Health, Patient Rights, and a Legacy of Deinstitutionalization. So congratulations. Advisors, would you like to share something? And then, you know what, before that, let's have our students come on up. And then advisors, you also can share. So congratulations to all of you. All of the other students who competed, come on up. We'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and your project. Yep, both mics. How we start here? Just introduce yourself and your project.
My name is Anna Johnson, and my project was Love Canal, Fighting for the Right to Live in a Healthy Community.
My name is Arlo Hoffman. My project was Reserve Mining Company versus the United States.
My name is Finley Amundsen, and my project was on the Cambodian genocide.
I'm Nissa Johnson, and my topic was the laws and implications behind the S word, sodomy.
My name is Ella Holsinger. And I'm Tessa Kyle, and our project was the Nuremberg Code and Informed Consent in Medicine.
My name is Lila Davis, and my project was the Federal Theater Project, engaging in the responsibilities and expanding the rights of theater.
My name is Sadie Pollard, and my project was on the Russian Revolution.
My name's Lucy Longacre, and I did Native American boarding schools.
Advisors, stay there, stay there, stay there. Advisors, come on up. I'll start off with Catherine Nockmark. Come on up. She can then introduce others who are sitting in the wings, you know. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to turn over to, yeah, you want to start? And then you always have the opportunity to share as well. And then, you know, we'll go from there. We're winging this right now. We're going to
It's kind of the day. Thank you, board members, for the opportunity to highlight the students that were involved because they worked really hard.
It's going to be important we have the mic or the community will be able to hear.
And to highlight their work. I will joke in class that only the strong make it to the academic finish line because a lot of students start. And there's some information that I shared with the board members, but 19,000 students started last year in the state of Minnesota. And a lot of the competition is in the metro area. So they take their time and families, it takes over your house, it takes over sometimes weekends, and there's, you know, computer crashes and software glitches and bibliography fiascos and all kinds of things that happen. So I think it's a testament to their efforts to learn something often above and beyond, you know, in the classroom. And just so that, you know, at the national level, a lot of the funding was reduced dramatically, and it's been a competition for 51 years. And Minnesota has opted to still support it. And so I'm excited that there'll be a competition this year, that they'll be going on to state. There's a new category for the state. It's podcast. So I'm not sure if any of the students this year will participate with that. So to you and to families, thank you sincerely for all your work, all those hours, lots of hours. And I wish you all the best, and thanks for competing in History Day.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful for you to join us today. It's great to see kids at these meetings because a lot of times we don't see kids, and we're here in service to you. So thank you so much and congratulations. That's some amazing topics, so thank you for being here today. Is there any other board members that'd like to share anything? Member Sadowski.
I would just acknowledge all of the work that you've put into your projects. I've just heard that it takes many, many hours outside of school, inside of school, when you have that time in your History Day Club, but just thank you for your hard work on these. I wish we had opportunities just to hear all of your presentations. So, you know, if there's opportunities to come see those or hear those at school, please let us know, Ms. Nachbar. Thank you.
Member Loeffler-Kemp.
I echo what my colleagues said. I just was really impressed with the variety of topics that you chose and the depth of those topics. So just really amazing leaders that we have in our district, future leaders as well. So thank you. And then also, yeah, any opportunities for future that we can come and be a part of it. I've judged History Day before years ago when my kids were involved, and it's wonderful. So thank you.
Member Mike Sell.
Thank you so much for representing Duluth Public Schools so well at both the state and national level. It's amazing.
And then also, thank you so much to our advisors and staff and all the families and all the extra effort that you've put in to help these students achieve so much.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, when you all come here, we are just so thrilled to see your faces. So to us, you're rock stars. So thank you for being here. That's why we're all smiling with such big, goofy smiles on our faces. So thank you so much.
And normally the board will come and shake, and they're going to do that. So just do this, and then if you have a chance to come in and shake hands, that's
Hey, good to see you, good to see you. You guys all picked your passions, I know, yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Like your earrings.
So students, Adele Worm, she's our health information officer. She's outside. She's going to take your picture. So if you all can go outside, she's going to set you up for a picture. That'd be great. So congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for raising that.
Advisors, we want to get you into the photo outside with Adele. Thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Nobody wants to stay? Come on, it's amazing. Nope. Okay. So before we get started, just to member Banks's. Yeah. Yeah. No, I was just, before we get started, to member Banks's point and to member Lofald's point, I did a little research, and just to make sure we're following what we need to. And it is okay when we're in that consent agenda part, it is perfectly acceptable to be pulled during that discussion at that time, and then we'll address it immediately after the consent agenda. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, member Banks. Thank you, member Lofald. And I think at this point, we can move on to the report of the superintendent. So Superintendent Magus, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Just 1 second. Cast. Here we go. So for my superintendent's report, of course, we're focusing on our mission, which is every student every day will be empowered with learning opportunities for growth, creativity, and curiosity in preparation for the future in a global community. And our vision is that Duluth Public Schools provides an academically engaging, safe, and inclusive environment with high expectations and responsible use of resources. Our core values are learning, developing a love of learning through lifelong inquiry, excellence, having high standards for all through accountability, integrity, and authenticity, equity, creating conditions of justice, fairness, and inclusion so all students have access to the opportunities to learn and develop to their fullest potential, collaboration, working in partnership with families, staff, students, and community, and belonging, providing a welcoming and accessible environment where everyone feels safe, seen, and heard. Topics for tonight, we have our student reports, then we have our human resources, we have some human resources updates, work session update, legislative updates, superintendent goals, and First Street build-out update, and then any other items that come up through conversation. But let's start with Representative Dean, if you wouldn't mind starting. And I think we have a Denfeld report that it was shared by Representative Garner, but she was unable to attend, unfortunately, tonight.
All right. Well, good evening. Per usual, East students have been staying very busy. I wasn't able to make it to the last meeting because we had a tech rehearsal for our fall musical, but I'm glad to be back. So I'm just going to start with some overall school updates. The Fall Talent Show put on by Student Government is tomorrow evening. We have a really great lineup of student acts and then skits by Stugo. There's going to be a canned food drive to benefit Chum, and each can brought in will earn people raffle tickets to win prize baskets. So I'm going to bring a lot of cans. It'll be fun. Next, the debate team has been practicing and is looking forward to what will hopefully be another very successful season. Last month, around 50 seniors were inducted into the National Honor Society. They will be completing 30 volunteer hours throughout the year. They've been connecting with students throughout East as tutors, whether that's at Saturday school, at our dean, or through one-on-one sessions. Turning to the fine arts, one-act auditions started today and will continue tomorrow. The team will be competing with a production of Country Gothic. It's a very, very weird show, and I really like it. Additionally, band, choir, and orchestra have all recently completed their fall concerts, and practice for the big holiday concert is now underway. This is something sort of new. Recently, the culinary classes opened Greyhound Kitchen. Before school, students work as baristas at the cafeteria coffee cart, and they also sell fresh baked goods made by the students. The program has been really successful so far, and we are excited to see where it can go in the future. Next, the boys and girls basketball teams have begun their seasons with practices well underway. Last Saturday, the dance team traveled to Roseville for their first competition of the season. JV kick and varsity kick both placed first, varsity jazz placed third, JV jazz placed fourth, and B squad jazz placed second. So our dancers are very talented. The girls hockey team, which has combined students from East and Denfeld, are a few games into their season, and we're excited to see what they'll achieve. The Nordic and Alpine ski teams have also been practicing despite the lack of snow. Next week, the Nordic team will head to West Yellowstone for their annual trip, and we are wishing them snowy trails. Additionally, the boys swim team has begun captain's practices and has their season stretching out ahead of them. Last weekend, the girls swim team competed at the state tournament with multiple swimmers setting some very dramatic school records. So they've had a really, really good season. And to wrap up the activity updates of this report, tomorrow, ABO Hounds will be hosting their first of 3 blood drives. There's going to be 1 donor bus, and we have nearly 70 donors signed up. So they'll be heading down throughout the day to save lives. With so many clubs and activities available to join, I've definitely heard a lot of feedback about students not having time or support to be as involved as they'd like to be. I'm not sure how much you guys have heard about our current Pause Day format, but the way it's structured, so our Pause Days, we have 2 class hours and then a block to go to clubs activities, and then a few more class hours, and then an afternoon block and our final class hours. But this current schedule doesn't allow for students to attend more than 2 clubs, and often students are required to attend a meeting or other obligation during that time. Pause days simply aren't working. They've become catch-all days. So they were throwing in large group photo day, a random assembly, senior panoramic, catching up on lockdown drills. We are losing so much time to the other things that we're not willing to spread out on other days. To quote a student from Student Forum last week, we have no time to take tests, teachers are giving new content, and it's overall very unproductive. Due to the shortened class time, so we're down to about 30 minutes per class, there are no stretches of really uninterrupted time to sit down and focus, and involvement in clubs and other groups has been tanking. Something I've always seen as a really strong part of the culture at East is the ability to sample a variety of groups just for fun. So whether you're just checking out International Snack Club, going to Harry Potter Club, German Club, Taylor Swift Club, Cribbage Club, or one of the other unique groups East has to offer, East students love and value the culture of just trying these new clubs and getting involved simply for the fun of it. Our current schedule not only diminishes this key part of our school. It's an ineffective attempt to provide more academic support, but so we have no more than 30 minutes in each class, and we have nearly a month's worth of makeup tests and needed support piled up. Students go through pause days with heightened stress and diminished productivity. We need a more standardized solution, and we deserve to hear what the schedule for our pause days is going to look like more than 24 hours in advance. Thinking of, going back to having time to sit down, focus on work, get tests taken care of, whatever you need. The spaces and opportunities for students to focus are just really lacking, mostly because of access to the library. I think last year we were really excited to have continued access to our media center. Our understanding of it was that we would have daily access. Unfortunately, students have found that hours are really unpredictable, and even students with passes to the media center are often turned away. Personally, I haven't checked out a single non-textbook from the library this year, and I don't know anyone who has. I love reading and I love browsing for material, but I have no clue when the library is going to be open. I could go early one day, but there's no way to know whether there will be someone there. I can't stay after school. I can't go during class time because, of course, I'm in class. Myself and my peers have struggled with the lack of quiet study space to go in. We sometimes go in during the mornings when it's open, and it's a good space to take a break on an overwhelming day, but we've lost a lot of that access. I think this district has put a lot towards, focusing on the foundational education like reading and media skills, and I just question whether these goals are being fulfilled. Unlike CTE and other additional programs, all students are impacted by the funding that goes, or in this case, doesn't go to the library. Access to books and study space in a school shouldn't be a goal. I think it should be a guarantee. And moving to the last part of my report, it's my self-proclaimed responsibility to always take a moment to remind you to take student feedback with a fresh perspective each and every time you hear it. One of my favorite parts of this job is getting to hear more about what you guys do, how the board functions. I never understood the complexities that go into the decision-making here. It's crazy. There are regulations to be followed, lots of groups to be pleased, and I think not a lot of students understand those nuances, so I think that's important to recognize. But on the other side of things, like none of you are high school students in 2025. Your curriculum decisions determine how I spend the majority of my time. Access to media resources determines the quality of my work. Your choices affect what students eat, how they get to school, what activities they join, and more. You only see some of our perspectives, and students can only see some of yours. And there needs to be a lot of balance there, and luckily that's something we can all contribute to. At school, I don't just come here and go on a long list of things we're dissatisfied with. I also go to my peers and I try to explain to them why some of the decisions that frustrate them so much happened, why some of that has to be necessary. I try to challenge them and myself to look at broader pictures. It's an ongoing goal with imperfect execution, but I hope that you will continually and critically reflect on how you choose to incorporate student voices. There's, I think, a very distinct difference between listening and hearing. So with all of that said, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative Dean. And I know that Director Larva has reached out to you to work on the intra-city student council, and there's been some delay in that. It's been challenging for people to have, I know she's trying to set up meetings. And then Mr. Bonds, I know that you are, Mr. Bonds, you're planning on presenting on the high school schedule in the near future with Director Larva at the December Committee of the Whole.
That is correct. In December, we're going to have a summary report provided, and then in January, a more extensive presentation of information related to the secondary schedule and other information. So yes, 2 months in a row.
Great. Thank you. So, pardon?
I have the school board report for
Sorry.
October and November for Student Representative Garner. So the events at Denfeld, they had the Witch's Princess, hosted by the Denfeld Theater for November the 6th through the 8th. The first ever Hunter Helmet one-day plays hosted by Denfeld Theater on November 15th. The Fall Ball hosted by Student Government on November 1st. Native American Heritage Week was November 10th through the 14th. And Student Representative Garner now has some student feedback. The new backpack rule at Denfeld requires Denfeld students to store their backpacks, string totes, and athletic bags in lockers instead of previously being allowed in classrooms. Many students do not agree with this new rule, and some students don't even acknowledge the rule. One of those students lives at home with me, so I'll just add that feedback. I talked to both upperclassmen and underclassmen about this rule, and the majority of upperclassmen do not like this rule because it's harder for them to adjust, considering upperclassmen have had backpacks on them for most of their high school career. For underclassmen, this is a little different because they were always accustomed to the rule since the same one applies at Lincoln. The hunter's license has received a lot of feedback over the years from both students and staff, both positive and negative. I've also received that feedback at my house as well. Many teachers like the hunter license because it makes students want to pass their classes, and it can be an efficient way to improve Denfeld's graduation rate. But students have had their own opinions. In the past, many students did not agree with the hunter license because it was based off of grades and attendance, and many students found that to be unfair. Students also did not agree with the licenses because it determined your ability to attend games, and students found this unfair as well because we need the most spirit at games, and having that in place prevented students from attending games. This year, the hunter license is based off grades only, and you do not need the hunter license to attend games. With these changes, I have heard more positive feedback from the student body regarding hunter licenses, and that concludes Student Representative Garner's report from Denfeld.
Excellent. Sorry that I was breezing past that. I did not want to not include that. Human resources. It's been busy, as we mentioned previously. Executive Director Severance's last day was in October. I'm now serving as the interim director of human resources for the time being, but Steve Johnson is also doing an excellent job in his role as human resources manager. I meet with Steve multiple times a day on human resources pieces, and he's doing a great job in that regard. But it is taking a lot of time, and I also want to make sure that we have a high degree of quality as well. There are a lot of serious changes happening in the state right now with earned safe and sick time and contract negotiations starting up for a couple of different groups, grievances, employee issues, things of that nature. So we want to make sure that we get somebody hired soon. So that's important, but it's also important to hire well, as you know. That position will be closing later this week. It was reposted one more time, and we had talked about the change in the some of the language that we are proposing for the director position so that it aligns similar to the director of technology, because positions don't always have, quite often people have a lot of experience and not necessarily a master's degree in that area, similar to technology. So we have it posted pending approval of the board. If the board was to choose to deviate or go a different direction or not approve that position, then we would repost with a new position. But we hope to interview for the position the first week in December and hopefully have somebody starting before the new year or at the beginning of the new year. We have an upcoming work session. Some of the things that we're meeting this Thursday from 4 to 7, focusing on the following topics. Jeff Anderson is going to be here working on our legislative platform. We're going to be doing a book study from our book that we've been reading. We're on chapters 5 and 6 of the School Board Members Guidebook, Becoming a Difference Maker for Your School District, and we're, again, focusing on chapters 5 and 6. We're also having some conversations about growth and capacity. We've talked about that a little bit in some of my other reports, and maybe some consideration of looking into demographic studies and things of that nature. That would be something that we would have as a topic for our Committee of the Whole agenda in December when we come back from the Thanksgiving holiday or the November holiday. and then talking about my superintendent goals. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in my presentation tonight. As far as legislative updates, board members are completing a survey that Jeff Anderson, our lobbyist, sent that we'll be using at our Thursday board meeting. We also sent a copy of last year's legislative platform, and we'll be using the information from your survey to formalize and finalize our platform ideas so that we can vote on the platform in December. And if you remember last year, we were still finalizing we met with our legislative group prior to the platform being formalized and voted on. We're making sure that we're getting ahead of it this time so that we can be ready with a finalized platform when we meet with folks in January prior to the session beginning. And then this Friday, I'll be finalizing the state Minnesota Association of School Administrators legislative platform, leading that work as their chair on Friday. So those are some of the things going on from a legislative perspective. Several board members were also at the legislative priorities breakfast that we had at College of St. Scholastica a couple of weeks ago, and that was really great. We had a lot of local representatives, and it was just really good to hear what the priorities of different organizations were throughout our region. As far as superintendent goals, a few things that I was just suggesting. I'm very open to other options, but I used the superintendent evaluation tool that we've used for evaluation, and 3 standards that I was thinking about. I'm certainly very open again to others, but I just wanted to share this out. Communications and community relationships, advocacy, since we're doing a lot of work with legislative advocacy, and since I have a role at the state level this year, I thought that was a good goal for me to be focusing on making sure that I had my skills. School improvement we've had as a continuing goal, and I think it should be potentially continued again. I think that there's always more that we can be doing, making sure that our alignment between our school improvement plans and the work of the district is well aligned. We heard our presentation on multi-tiered systems of support at our committee of the whole meeting, and so that's an example of a lot of the work we're leading right now. But I'm suggesting that we continue it, but we can have a different goal. There's quite a few other goals that I checked as thinking that they would be interesting. Kind of went through what we would do with the toy catalog when the winter holiday came along, and circled ones that I thought were interesting and then added stars to them as I thought they were even more along the lines of what I was hoping for. But I'm very, very open to shifting what my goals would be based on what the board intends. And then we've also been focusing a lot on school safety. School safety is a very significant issue across the state, and it is likely intertwining with our advocacy work as well. But we've done a lot of work this year on our emergency operations plans. We even met this morning. Every time there's any sort of incident, we meet to debrief about the incident. We gather all the stakeholders, the leaders throughout the district, and we meet to talk about what did we do, what worked well, what could we have improved on, so that we're improving those processes as we go. So I think school safety and security might be something that we could have as a potential goal, since it's a pretty significant body of work. And then just a quick little update on the First Street building. I know we're looking for a new name for the First Street building, and we'll begin that process with the board based on our naming work. But we are meeting with all leaders on a regular basis to discuss questions, concerns, and to plan next steps. Now that things are moving further along, we're holding our leadership meetings in person. Our last meeting was last Friday, I think it was. We met here with a group of about 20 of us, including the principal of the ALC-AEO and the leaders for adult education, community education, Head Start, and all the different folks that will be in the First Street facility. I also know that we have conducted quite a few tours, and I know many of you as board members have gone on some of those tours, and I think you're seeing some great work being done down there as well. So I want to make sure we get that naming process moving along. And then any questions related to anything we've shared tonight in our presentations? All right, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Member Mike Sell.
Sorry, I was slow. 2 questions.
It's been referred to that there's going to be a meeting with legislators in January. If that meeting has been set, can that date be shared if it hasn't yet?
We have not yet set a date. Patty will be working with the board to determine, and also the legislators to see what date would work, but we want to get that out as soon as possible so that we can meet with them before the session begins.
Great. And then second question, I've heard in a number of meetings now the urgency to get the naming process started. And I'm just curious, is that something that the board needs to initiate so that we can get that process started, or is it?
It's joint between board and administration, so I think there are some if the board is intending for us to start that process, I can get it going and I can start naming people. I assume that is the will of the board at this point, unless I hear otherwise, and we can get things going. Good? All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Member Lofeld.
Can I have a follow-up just to the naming process? Is that something done in a workshop setting, in a COW meeting, in a closed meeting, in small group meeting? You know, if we think that we want to go that way, there's a policy that would guide our work. And maybe it'd be interesting to just all of us review that policy as we are looking. And then I don't know what the process looks like.
Sure. Actually, our communication officer, Del Wellens, can outline some of the aspects, but it's a public process, and it involves some things with seeking input from students and community members and posting things publicly, but go ahead and share.
Yeah, so me and Finance Director, Executive Finance Director Simone Zunich have a meeting set up so that we can start the process starting on December 3rd. So we will post on our website and social media and other places asking for nominations regarding the names, and that will be public. I believe last time when we did it for the public school stadium was for a month. And then we will gather all of those names, and then we will have a committee of people appointed by the superintendent, which would include students, community members, and staff. And then we would discuss all the names, all the options, determine their value moving forward based on the policy, and then we would come to the school board with a recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Great. Seeing no other questions, we can move on. And now we are at our report from our standing committee. So I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Bonds for the Committee of the Whole meeting.
Thank you. And the meeting was held recently, and we had two primary topics, as indicated earlier. I want to thank the team for coming to share an update related to our action card, the MTSS action card. Julie Staubert and Todd McGowan, as well as Dale Usman and Director Sparks also was present as well to provide an update related to that key work as superintendent discussed, and how we are really strategically approaching improving our systems around instruction and fostering a positive learning environment. So I want to thank the team for that work. We also had a report that is also on the agenda for an action item from our Director of Head Start. Barbara Eckberg was here providing insight related to the Head Start report. There was a presentation. There was also required work from the governance team, which the board serves as for Head Start. And I want to thank Coordinator Director Eckberg for that presentation, the board participating in that training that she provided. And that concluded the COW agenda for the month.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Assistant Superintendent Bonds? Member, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Member Loeffler.
Not a question, just a appreciation that most of our principals from across the district were in attendance for the Committee of the Whole meeting and available. So just really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I would echo that having our principals here and focused on their work as leaders, they're very, very important to us. Oftentimes this time of year is a time of thanks, and we're very thankful for, first and foremost, our students, but our teachers and administrators who are leading our schools, very important. And also something that we've focused on and talked about quite a bit in our meetings that hasn't really been outlined through the committee of the whole or in my report is next Monday night is the starting or the kickoff of our district advisory committee. So we've talked about that with the board, and so we're meeting on Monday night with that committee. So that's great.
Great, all right, so now we'll move on, and Member Sadowski, could you please, the HR Business Services, my apologies,
No problem. I'd
Member
love to give
Sadowski.
the HR business report. First, I just wanted to thank Member Williams for chairing it for me at that meeting since I was out of town. So as I always start kind of by saying, we had our HR Business Services Committee meeting on Monday, November 10th. You can find that meeting on our YouTube, and I would encourage our community and everyone to kind of watch that. We often have 300-plus pages in our HR business report, and we go through it in detail at that meeting. At this meeting, at our school board meeting, I'll pick some highlights. It might be a little longer this evening because we did have some significant items kind of come through that meeting, but I'm certainly not going to go through the 300 pages again. But we will go over the highlights. So starting with our HR report, we have about 12 open positions district-wide still. So I just kind of wanted to note that and really appreciate our Human Resources Department working on the hiring of those. And we are working to address failed negotiations between Blue Cross Blue Shield and Aspirus. I thought that was important to note. So making our HR department is working with our staff to kind of navigate the challenge that impasse has created for our staff, but also in our community. I know that's impacting a lot of people. For our child nutrition report, we have a newly formed wellness committee filled with staff, community members, parents, grandparents, and they're working on a wellness policy. They also recently submitted, our child nutrition department submitted a farm to school grant that'll be like a 50-50 match, which is really glad to hear. So hopefully we can infuse local healthy foods even more into our meals for our students. Any questions or comments so far on the HR, the business report, or the child nutrition? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on. A couple other notes that I had was for our facilities, just to thank Brian Brown, our facilities manager, for providing an update on the First Street building at the HR business meeting, and also other projects. And I would encourage everyone just to look at the facilities report. There are a lot of projects going on across the district at a variety of our schools, and we just appreciate the ongoing work for those projects. Our transportation department did some staff training. I just want to turn to that page really quick here. Page, if I can find it. Yeah, so the staff training just sounded interesting to me and important. It covered several key areas, including student management, preventing bullying and harassment, and winter driving techniques. So additionally, Northwoods provided training focused on student interaction and de-escalation techniques. I'm always very appreciative of our bus drivers and appreciate that they took the time, and the district took the time to do this important training. Continuing on, then we have our 3 resolutions that I wanted to note that we're bringing forth from HR. The first one is Resolution B-11-25-4131, authorizing the execution and delivery of an amendment to installment purchase contract and a supplement to declaration of trust and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of $9,080,000 in full-term certificates of participation. And basically, that is a big one. I wanted to point out that last month, we had another resolution that authorized, where the board authorized the district to go to market for the bonds for the First Street building, and we talked about that last month. This time, this resolution is to approve the purchase of the bonds for the $9,080,000. And these bonds are layered in with other bond debt, a lot of which is going to fall off in a couple years. But that's why when you're reading this resolution and the whole document, you will see kind of that in there. But any questions or comments, since that's not one of our normal resolutions? I mean, it's normal business, but it's not our grants or our donations. Any questions or comments on that? Member Eder?
I'm just curious, and connecting this back to how we've been managing our finances the last 5 years, where we went out and we have a rating with Moody's, and our interest rates, our positive interest rates are reflected when we go out to buy those bonds, correct?
That is correct. We have an A3 rating, so it's allowed,
Yep.
we were allowed to go up to 4.74. This one's, I think, 4.72, and it allowed us to drop to 3-something, so.
Perfect.
It's been really good.
And that was reflective last month when we voted on, that was,
Yeah, that was a separate one.
the separate one, and this is along the same.
Same, the interest rate is still, the work that we've done on our credit score and our finances in the district over the last 4 to 6 years is directly positively impacting our bonds and the percents that we're getting.
Great. So thank you, everybody, for work on that. That's wonderful news.
When I spoke with Moody's, they praised us several times. You praised the school board several times.
Great, good job.
Great. Any other questions, comments?
Just to comment
Superintendent?
on the Moody's rating, part of what they commented on as well is that they knew that we needed a course correction with the budget, and with the reductions that we had to make this past year for this year. And I know that that was really hard, because anytime we have to make reductions in what we provide for our students, staff, and families, it's not something that is done easily. And so I appreciate the hard work that was done, and I appreciate the sacrifice that we're trying to make with doing as much with less or more with less. But I think it was necessary for some of the work that we need to do from a fiscal standpoint, and grateful for the board for that work as well.
Thank you, Member Sadowski.
Great, thank you. The other resolutions that we're bringing forth this month are the acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools and the acceptance of grant awards to Duluth Public Schools. And as always, we're very appreciative to the many people in our community who support our students, programs, schools with the donations. So I will let whoever brings that resolution forth later kind of highlight maybe a couple of those. The next items that I wanted to bring up was our bids, RFPs, and quotes, because we had a couple very large bids and projects coming through for mostly lighting at Lowell Elementary and lighting at Lincoln Park Middle School. Those are found on page 58 and 92. I know, I'm going to see if anyone has any questions or comments, but I wanted to kind of give a few. First of all, I really appreciate the work that our staff did to provide the bid packets. I think we have a high level of transparency in our school district. I mean, when you look at other school districts and kind of what they're providing the board, it's kind of interesting. We do get a lot of information here, including later on, outside of the bid process, we get updates on the change orders that happen. Those come through our packet too, and we have those in here. I'm not going to highlight any of those tonight. But for the Lowell lighting, we had several people bid on it. We had the lowest bidder was Westcom at $538,194 for the Lowell lighting. The next smallest amount was $657,366 for a difference of $119,172. So the Westcom bid was the lowest there. For bid number 1344 for the Lincoln Park lighting, Wolf River Electric came in the lowest at $948,615, and Hunt Electric came in at $1,205,527 for a difference of $256,000, $912. So $256,912. Some of the questions that I think many of us board members were wondering about is, are these, which contractors are union, which aren't? Are we requesting prevailing wage? That's really important to many of us, sitting at this table. And so, yep, we are requiring that these companies pay prevailing wage, whether they're union or not. That's part of our process and what we've decided as a board that we would like. I have, some concerns that I have and that I am going to follow up on, I just wanted to share with the board, is that sometimes when companies aren't union, there may be attempts to skirt prevailing wage and things like that. And so one thing that I'm going to be requesting for these projects, just to kind of look moving forward, just making sure that we're getting those prevailing wage reports, if we can, to make sure that the prevailing wage is indeed being paid. And secondly, I'm going to be keeping a really close eye on the change orders, because another thing that can happen is if a bid comes in lower and then maybe we get change orders moving forward for a lower bid versus a union bid, for example. So that's one thing that just in my role as chair of the HR business, when I am reviewing the 300 pages over the weekend before chairing that, I'm going to keep these projects in mind, keep a little note, and make sure that I'm looking at those. And I welcome other board members to do that as well if you want, or I will definitely keep you posted. But those are some of my thoughts on these bids. Definitely, we're, as we all agree, I think that we have a fiscal responsibility to, make the most sound decisions as we can with these bids. But I would open it up to any other thoughts or comments or questions on these bids. Member Lofeld?
So thank you, Member Zadowski, and as the chair of the finance, I'm really glad to hear that you're going to lead a more awareness for us as board members too. We rely on that finance committee, the three of you that sit there, to continue to dive deeper and make sure that we are following the guidelines of prevailing wage is a big one for us, and we always ask that at the board table if they're offering, whether they're union or not. Personally, I prefer that I want our local unions to be, offered, but I know that low bid is a required state guideline, so I understand that. I would challenge the finance committee too, and I can help in any way I can, that prevailing wage is a question we ask, but we should also ask, we should understand what a prevailing wage is, because there's different prevailing wages based on non-union versus union. Or is it prevailing wage? Could you say, we want a prevailing wage that's equitable to the Duluth prevailing wage? I don't know, you might have a response and I'll ask. So that's one thing. The other thing too, if you're going to think about some things we could ask our facilities manager and our leadership in that for our administration is to, check on the site work and have the workers that are on that project, sign in. This is an electrical process, so, sometimes we want to make sure that they have licenses to work as electricians, or maybe non-union companies don't require that apprentice or that license, and so safety-wise, I'm worried about the safety of our workers when we commit to a project and we accept a bid. If it's a low bid, are their workers licensed? And do they hire licensed electricians? So that would be another thing we could ask, or maybe not. But I'm I'm learning more too about just working with our facilities leadership and trusting them, and then also making sure that, the values that I hold for my role on the board to uplift the families that work in our that work in Duluth, that are union workers, that families come to our schools, that they're also available for work. So I'll leave it with that kind of comments, but yeah.
Appreciate your comments. Any other questions or comments on those bids? Member Lofel?
Can I add that I am concerned, and I'm hoping that either we can do this now, or I would like to pull it off the consent agenda and see if there's board desire at all to do some more work on this, ask our facilities to, look for some studies that we're asking for, if that's a desire of the board or not. Just this is a lighting project going forward for almost $2 million. We want to make sure that we're good fiscal agents. Do we want to ask for a little bit more feedback, or are we comfortable as a board? And we can either decide, we can decide at the consent agenda to pull it off the consent and have if there's any desire to make a motion or a second and see where we go with that, or not.
So I think the same as we address Member Banks's questions about the field trip, if we could, when we get to the consent agenda and the discussion or whatever, just pull those items then, and then we'll address them immediately after the consent agenda. Is that fair? Great, thank you, Member Lofeld. Sorry, Member Sadowski.
That plan sounds good to me. So then our financial, I'll move on away from the bids, RFPs and quotes. I'll backtrack to the financial report. Director Zunich, do you have anything to add about the financial report? When I looked at it, I didn't see anything that stood out to me, but do you have anything to add?
Thank you. It's business as usual with our daily work with expenditures and revenues. We are in the middle of our audit. That has to be down to the Department of Education on December 1. So the next week and a half are a very intense time. And we're in contact with our auditors. They have to start, there's a new phase to an audit. Now they audit our ESST time, and they said that's a very intensive process. That's our safe and sick time. So I'm still hoping we can be done on time, but it all depends on how much they need to pull, so thank you.
Thank you for that update.
Can you repeat that? I was sneezing and I didn't hear when you said one of the most important parts.
That our auditors informed us that one piece that they still need to do is a deep audit of our safe and sick time, ESST. They've done some smaller schools and it was an intensive process. So we're a big school, they're a big, it's going to take some time. So I'm still hoping we will be able to submit our audit on time on December 1, but they still have some of that work. I just want the community to know that they audit everything. So it's our leave, it's not just finances. They do dig into our payroll and our leave.
I'm thinking if we could have some idea with the new regulations and laws around earned safe and sick time, if you have an idea of the amount of time it's taken us to prep and what that's going to look like in time moving forward for our HR and then both our business services office, because I think as we think about our legislative priorities for some of these things that are coming down from the state, how do we account not just for what they cost the district monetarily, but then also in time and investment by the district? That might be some good information for us to have as we think about our legislative priorities.
Agreed.
Only one more item that I wanted to highlight, and that was under our contracts. We have a purchase agreement for a land sale. We met as a board about this probably last spring sometime, and that we have a purchase agreement in here on page 132. So, Member Loeffler-Kemp, I see your lights on.
Yep, just a follow-up to Simone about the audit. Do we have a tentative time when we would receive the audit as a board and get that information. Thank you.
Question, we have sent them the dates, and we'd like to get a draft to you for the HR Business Services, but sometimes they've not been able to meet that, but we will put attachment pending. As soon as I get a draft, I will send it to you. So there's a small chance it won't be at HR Business Services, but I will send it as soon as we can. We will have a presentation. It will be me and one of the auditors the night of the school board, along with the truth and taxation presentation. Thank you.
That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Member Sadowski, I think Member or Clerk Mike Sell has a question.
Sorry, Member Mixell.
Quick question, and you didn't cover this in the highlights, but in listening back to the HR Business Services Committee meeting, the technology report, there was an item about preparing for the rollout of Google Gemini's AI platform for our high school students, which will be starting this winter. And I was wondering if you had any other information that you can share with the board for that.
I do not have any additional information on that. I would lean on Superintendent Magus. I know I shared just when I think about AI, a concern I have is just, or a question rather, was what are we doing to educate our students and parents about this tool that we're living with, that we can't, it's there, kids have access to it, right? And so how are we teaching students how to use it responsibly? That was one question that I had. So I appreciate you bringing this up. I apologize I didn't highlight that one. Superintendent Magus?
Sure, thank you, and great questions. And I think it's probably a question that most people are wrestling with throughout the country. So Assistant Superintendent Bonds and Director Krieger, sorry, I was pausing for a second. My organic intelligence was failing me. But if you want to share a little bit more about what we're thinking timeline-wise, but I think it's very important for us to be very mindful of the impacts on our students and families. And something Mr. Bonds has talked about quite a bit is making sure the communication is really good with our families and community, particularly because of people's concerns and fears and reluctance, and also to make sure that people are well prepared for it. So also Director Larva is up with us as well, because she has some perspectives based from a curriculum standpoint and probably has a little more impact on secondary than it does on elementary. Director Krieger?
Yeah, so Director Larva and I can briefly speak to this. We're looking to roll out Google Gemini to our high school students this coming February, and we've laid out a timeline to do that. And leading up to that, there is a variety of training and communication planned, both internally and for outside stakeholders who also are interested in this topic, and certainly important participants in the process. And I can briefly let Director Larva address that as well.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been meeting. Cindy Miller is our computer science content lead. Julie Stauber, our curriculum instruction coordinator. Greg, myself, I think we've pulled Adele in a couple of times to some meetings as well. But we've been talking about the planning for this and where it makes the most sense for it to land. And we've decided to start with the students at the high school level. We're still going to be working within the Gemini, which is our walled garden, as I've learned from Mr. Kruger. Anyways, we are we're doing a lot of things in the background. So some of the things in our timeline, we'll be addressing the teacher capacity with some of the trainings that we have with our PD development, professional development days on December 8th. And then again, we have an asynchronous day on January 2nd. And so we have AI as being a main topic during those opportunities there. And then we have teachers that we've identified. Specifically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to train a whole bunch of students in a short window of time, which is very challenging. We do happen to have those courses, which we have all of our 9th graders in, all of our 10th graders, all of our 11th and 12th. And so
one semester, we're going to do half of the groups in each of those grade levels at the very end of this first semester. And then at the very beginning of the second semester, we're going to be training the other part of the students. And so those teachers are going to be coming in and working with Cindy Miller on what the messaging is going to be and what the training is going to be for students as well. So we have that planned out to be in January, as we're just starting those transfers, and then opening up the AI product to students after February break.
Appreciate the input. And just a question for our student representative, Representative Dean. Sometimes we're looking for student voice and things, and just thinking about what your perception is as far as students, their use of AI right now. Do you think are students occasionally using AI, one
I
or two
wouldn't
students?
say occasional.
Yeah.
I think, I actually talked with Director Larva about this a little bit earlier. You know, I didn't know this was something that was happening until today. And I had to be like, whoa, I don't know, I think it's crazy because I think the way AI has come forward so prominently, so quickly, and obviously, I think it's going to continue to be very present, whether it's in our, school, college, jobs, whatever. So I think it is good to, we can't ignore it as like, oh, you can't use it at school. Well, then it's still going to be out there in the real world. Like learning how to use it responsibly, I think is important. And I also think, I'm at school every day. I see how my peers do some of their assignments, and I think that a district-issued list of this is when it's okay to use AI, this is when it's not, that's not going to do anything. Kids already use it to write full essays. It's not, I think there are ways to use it responsibly, and there are ways to teach how to use it responsibly. It's very hard to follow through on that responsible usage, and I don't have a solution to that. I also did something I said earlier. I think that when this rollout happens, there needs to be public messaging from the district, letting students know, like, this is the environmental impacts of AI. Because I think that's something I'm really concerned about. A lot of my peers are concerned about. I know the board knows East Climate Club is very involved, very vocal. And I think they've worked really hard to let this board know how much students are passionate about, the environment is our future. It's a huge issue, and I'm sure you guys have all heard about the impacts AI has on it. And from a personal standpoint, I think it's the responsibility of AI developers or people who are, like this, making AI accessible to students in this way. I think that's a good thing, and it's also your responsibility then to let the people who are making it available to know the impacts of it. So whether that's going to be a statement saying, as you're using this, no, this is what's happening in the background to make this math problem worked out for you possible, because it's not insignificant. And I've walked up to my friends, they've been ChatGPTing a chemistry problem to figure it out. I've done it too. It's a useful tool, but I'm like, but we don't, I think there needs to be more publicity about how that's going to be impacting our futures. And this is something I think about all the time, and obviously maybe going on a whole tangent about it makes that clear. But I put on my Common App when I was applying to colleges, I put a disclaimer on my Common App saying I did not use a single piece of AI on this because I feel so nervous about my work being discredited as AI. And that's something like I never used on assignments, and I have, and I constantly, I turn in an assignment, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope my teacher doesn't think I used AI because there's an M dash in here. And that's a really weird feeling. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that's the sentiment that we're feeling, is that it's being used widely, and we want to make sure that we're putting our arms around it and trying to make sure that we're helping provide some guidance in what's happening, and because I think the Wild West is kind of happening behind the scenes, and we want to make sure that we bring it into the forefront so that we can provide some thoughtful scaffolding and guidance as we work together. We realize it's going to be an evolving piece for our society, an evolving piece for our schools. but we need to at least figure out what that's going to look like so that we can teach responsible use, but also equitable use. I think that's another piece, is that some people have access right now and others don't. And I think thinking about that accessibility with Gemini so that people can be trained up when we think about job skills for the future, I think that it's important for people to understand how to use AI and what it looks like. So I think that's going to be critical for us as well.
Thank you. Member Lafleur-Kemp?
Yeah, I really appreciate this discussion, and just wearing my policy chair hat, look forward to any policies or regulations that might need to go through our committees as we roll this out and as we explore what other districts are doing as well.
Yeah, we do plan to bring that forward in the very near future.
And I just wanted to thank Representative Dean for your comments. I know many students, including my own, that share your concerns, especially about the environmental impacts. That's when we have AI discussions at home, that's the main topic from my own kids. So thank you. I know you're not alone in that feeling.
Seeing no further business from the Human Resources Business Services Committee, I'll turn it over to Member Lafleur-Kemp for the Policy Committee update.
Great, thank you. We held our policy committee just last Thursday, November 13th, and as Member Sadowski said, our policy committee is also on YouTube and the discussions that we had at that meeting. So I encourage people who want more background information to go to that meeting. I'm just going to do some highlights, and as we always do at our meetings with policy, I'll read the purpose of the policy, not the whole policy itself. And again, I want to thank Board Member Mike Cassell and Board Member Lofold for being a part of our meeting last week. So the first policy for first reading that we're looking at is Policy 205. That's our advertising policy, and it's replacing 1025 and 1030. And the purpose of this policy is to provide guidelines for the advertising or promoting of products or services to students and parents in the schools. And it goes over the guidelines, and then again at the end, like every policy does, legal references and cross-references. And I just wanted to point out in the cross-references of this policy, it does highlight Policy 810, which we're going to be reviewing later on, and that's the naming rights in naming school facilities. And this was referenced in some of our other updates, so I just wanted to reference it with this first reading. For second reading, we have 3 policies, and these are new policies, and they're really to bring our policies up to best practice in the with these 3. But the first one is Policy 303, Superintendent Selection, and the purpose of this policy is to convey to the school community that the authority to select and employ a superintendent is vested in the school board. Policy 304, Superintendent Contract, Duties, and Evaluation. The purpose of this policy is to provide for the use of an employment contract with the superintendent, a position description, and the use of an approved instrument to evaluate performance. And then the third policy, again for second reading, is Policy 306, Administrative Code of Ethics. The purpose of this policy is to establish the requirements of the school board that school administrators adhere to the standards of ethics and professional conduct in this policy in Minnesota law. Then the list of policies that we reviewed, mainly because of legislative changes, is Policy 516, Student Medication and Telehealth. The purpose of this policy is to set forth the provisions that must be followed when administering non-emergency prescription medication to students at schools. And again, there were some language changes. Policy 516.5, overdose medication. The purpose of this one is as a means of enhancing the health and safety of its students, staff, and visitors. The school district will acquire, administer, and store doses of an opioid, specifically Nexalon, Narcan, and administration devices or kits for emergency use to assist a student, staff member, or other individual believed or suspected to be experiencing an opioid overdose on school district property during the school day. I wanted to mention the first one I just read, Policy 516. If you go at the end again, we actually passed that in 2023, and we also just reviewed it in February of 2025. So, and then the one I just read, 516.5, again, it was first passed in 2023 and was reviewed last time in September of 23. The next policy is Policy 534, School Meals Policy. The purpose of this policy is to ensure that students receive healthy and nutritious meals through the school district's nutrition program, and that school district employees, families, and students have a shared understanding of expectations regarding meal charges. The policy of the school district is to provide meals to students in a respectful manner and to maintain the dignity of students by prohibiting lunch shaming or otherwise ostracizing the student. The policy seeks to allow students to receive the nutrition they need to stay focused during the school day and minimize identification of students with insufficient funds to pay for a la carte items or second meals, as well as to maintain the financial integrity of the school nutrition program. And again, really appreciate Sheila Oakes, our food nutrition director's review of this policy again, and there were some legislative changes last reviewed on November of 2023. And then the last one for review is Policy 810, and another board member recommended that you all review this closely because we will be discussing it in the future. But again, 810 is the naming rights in naming school facilities. And the purpose of this policy is to establish the criteria and procedures for granting naming rights in relation to school district facilities, including buildings and grounds. And we had initially passed this back in May of 2021. And I know at that time a lot of review and thought was put into this policy and looking at other districts. And again, there's just been some legislative changes. So those are the policies for review. And then policies for consideration of deleting. Again, this is as we've been going through the different series, 1,000 series. And this month we looked at the 4,000 series. We had 28 policies that were brought forward. And as we went through them, we did choose to delete because these policies fall into other policies or other places. So we did choose to delete 7 or 8 of them, and I'll just read the title of those that we deleted. And the rest in that series will be brought back to our policy committee. But policies to be deleted are 4,000, General Human and Community Resources and Relations Policy, Policy 4005, School District Employees Identification, Policy 4025, Standards of Conduct for Personnel, 4095, Student Teachers, 4115, Professional Leave with Pay, 4120, Contractual Leaves Without Pay, 4150, Employees Organizations, and 4115, Pay for Substitute Teachers and Temporary Classified Personnel. And again, they either fall under other policies or other school district employee handbooks as well. So those were our policies for this month. Do we have any questions?
Just a comment, since we were talking about the naming rights policy, since we were talking about action upon the naming rights policy, just want to point out for the board that most of any of the changes were very, very minor, just procedural ways of capitalization and making sure the formatting was the same. There weren't any process changes, and so we can proceed with that work according to the spirit of the policy.
Thank you.
I'm just always amazed at the amount of work that you guys plow through every meeting, and just, when I started on the board, I remember sitting down, I believe, Member Loeffler-Kemp, it was with you, and at the time Superintendent Gronseth, and the big 4,000 binder, that was probably like that. So to see us move past those, do the work so that we have continuity through policies and all things, I just want you to know I really appreciate it. So thank you to that committee.
We appreciate that, and I would just add, our next policy committee is on December 11th at 4:30. And again, as always, we want to thank our Executive Secretary, Patty Paquette, for all the work she does to help bring these policies forward and make the changes and the recommendations based on board discussions. So again, huge appreciation, Patty.
Seeing no further discussion for our policy committee, we can now move on to any general board committee updates. And do we have any board members who'd like to share some committee updates? Member Sadowski.
I would just like to thank Member Loeffler-Kemp for attending the Head Start Policy Council meeting in my stead while I was out of town. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll just do a quick update on it then. Thank you. It was held last week, and it was great to be working with Barbara Eckberg, our new Head Start director, as she worked with the new parent council and did some training, as well as they elected their officers for the year, and to just get to meet some of the parent representatives that come from different schools that have across the district with Head Start programs. And we have some really wonderful parents involved at that level in a leadership role. So thank you.
Do we have any other committee updates? Seeing no other committee updates, we can now move on to the consent agenda. So we're opening up discussion, or we're opening up to the consent agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Member Micasel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Member Lofald. Now we're opening it up to discussion, so let's hear it.
Sure. I would like to have a discussion about the field trip requests that are mentioned in the consent agenda, 1B, 4B. There are 4 of them. I'm just wanting clarification mostly. It's the Duluth East Nordic Ski Club to West Yellowstone, Montana, Lakewood Elementary, Wolf Ridge, 5th graders, Duluth East a cappella choir to New York City, and then the final one is the Duluth East Chamber Orchestra Sterling Strings to Chicago, Illinois. I am bringing my questions because I need clarification.
Yeah, okay, so hold on, I'm just writing. So now we have, so Member Banks, you would like to pull this off the consent agenda? And then we can discuss it after the consent agenda. Does that work for you?
Sure.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just making sure I'm having this correct. So we're going to pull off 1B, 4B, all 4 field trips.
That is correct.
Okay, great. So we will pull that off the consent agenda to take up for discussion immediately after we vote on the consent agenda. Thank you, Member Banks. And thank you for being patient with me right now as I navigate this. Member Lofo?
And I'd also like to pull off of our consent agenda, I would like to pull off under 2 finances, letter C, and then numbers 1 and 2. So it is 2C, bids, RFPs, and quotes, number 1 and number 2. And I'd like to pull those off for discussion. And I also would like clarification. Yeah, that's okay. We'll go with that.
Just give me 1 minute here. I'm just making sure I have, these are listed differently in different agendas in different places, so I just want to make sure I have them correct when I pull them. So you are talking about on the consent agenda. Boo-boo-loo. Sorry.
Oh, it is, yeah. Yep. So on the one I printed.
So on the consent agenda, you do have 2B. Yep, I see where it is. I just had it on me. I was incorrect the way I had it written down. You're under 2C, bid 1 and bid 2. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we have pulled off the consent agenda the field trip discussion, which is B4B, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're also pulling off B2, C1 and 2. Okay, perfect. With those pulled off the consent agenda, we now will vote on the consent agenda without those items listed on the consent agenda. So all those in favor of the consent agenda as it stands right now, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda has passed. We will now take up the items that have been removed from the consent agenda, and I'll do it in order from which they were pulled. So we will begin with discussion on 1B. I just had it, sorry, everybody. 1B, 2, 4B. It's just the one. So, Member Banks.
Thank you very much. So I just want to take a moment, if we could have just a brief discussion on the field trips. I have 3 specific questions, and you can answer probably all of the questions for all 4, perhaps. The first one, how many students per field trip? And at the same time, how many chaperones will be participating? I know our policy is that there needs to be 1 chaperone per 20 students. And for some of the
I'm not sure if the reasons that we're asking for a delay meet the recommendations of how bids should be, if a bid should be rejected. So while I feel that there might be greater conversations around, the different projects and the different people who submitted bids, when I look at how this was handled, it seems as though everything is appropriate into our policies. So if we want to have a discussion about changing our policy so that we have more authority in those ways, or a different authority, that might also be something that's up for discussion. But I personally, based on our current policies, I'm not sure that we have reason to not support what administration has brought forward to us at this time.
Can I ask a follow-up question? That was Member Williams.
Member Williams.
Member Mike Sell, can you read that portion that talks about the rejection piece? The rejection of bids? Thank you.
So rejection of bids. Should the low bidder, 1, have a bid in excess of the budget for the project, 2, be determined as not reliable, or 3, have failed to provide the necessary bid security, the bid shall be rejected through school board action upon recommendation of the Business Services Committee. The school board reserves the right to withhold the bidder's, quote, good faith, end quote, guarantee if the bidder fails to meet the conditions of the submitted bid.
Thank you.
Member Sadowski.
If I bring it back to the Lowell Elementary project, I guess one, and I would say I agree with what Member Mike Sell just said. When I look at these bids, one concern I have is that the bid that was brought forth, the lowest bid, Westcom, they're not part of our local union. They're part of a union, but not our AFL-CIO union. So I kind of shared what I'll be looking for moving forward, which is I want to follow up on prevailing wage. I appreciate that Member Lofald brought up that there are maybe different types or different amounts of prevailing wage, depending on, obviously what position it is, depending on apparently the unions and that sort of thing. So I think for me, the concerns that I have, this did follow the bidding process. It's the lowest responsible bid, and I think it'll be really important to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to follow up on these and really keep tabs on the change orders that are coming in, if so, and the prevailing wage, and making sure that those are followed. They should be, because we're asking them to do that. But I think it'd be worth just following up on that.
Member Lofald.
Yep, and I follow this conversation, and that's why I pulled it, is so we could have, further conversation too. I don't mind not holding off on this, especially the Lowell one that has not as many alt. But, I do question why does Wolf River give us a light pole quote? But again, that's why I would like more opportunity. I did listen to your HR. I did hear Mr. Brown come before us, and I don't question that. And you're right, they have followed the process to a T. So I'm just also, laying out for board members, maybe if we have some concerns, that we look at our policy and see if we want to make any movement there. But yeah, and I somewhat wonder why such a big gap in the bids. That's really, kind of an eye opener for us. And again, I just got this when I got back from my time away as well, and so I haven't had as much time to dig into it. So I thought if it wasn't something that needed a deadline, that we could maybe talk a little bit more. But you're right, Member Mike. So I am not going to support not fulfilling this. We followed every bid process, and I think we'd be out of compliance as a school board unless we had something that confirmed 1, 2, or 3 that you just read for Member Williams, and I'm not going. I don't have anything for that. I think that everything has been responsible. So I just want further clarification about just where we're going with it. And again, the Lowell one wasn't my major concern, but if you want to vote on them separate, that's good too. That's appropriate.
Do we have any further discussion? Member Sadowski.
I would just say that I echo your concerns about the large gap in the bids. And I think I have concerns about the reasons for that gap, including making sure the prevailing wage and looking at, people that might bid low and then have the change orders come in. So I too am concerned about that, and I appreciate the discussion.
So if I'm hearing the board right now, I've jotted down a couple things for us to think about, and whether that, and for us to address, is the prevailing wage question, change order follow-up, and do we have what is our responsibility within our policy and how our policy reads? And then I would also add, what is our statutory obligations? Maybe a refresher for all of us as we walk through a lot of these processes. So does that sound like an accurate reflection of sort of this discussion right now for us to put on our agenda moving forward, for us as a board to do that work outside of this particular bid? So
repeat that question? I'm sorry.
So I guess what I'm saying is there's three things that I'm hearing from us: the prevailing wage question, change order follow-up, and then what policies what does our policy look like? Is it reflective of what the board wants? And then in that policy that we have, 726, what are our statutory, state and federal statutory obligations when we think about how our bidding process is and any adjustments we want to make to it? That would be work for us to do outside of just this particular bid, correct? When we think about how our bidding process looks as a whole? Does that sound, as I'm just taking notes first? Okay. We have a motion on the floor from Member Lofald. It was seconded by Member Loeffler-Kemp. And we have had our discussion, so I'm guessing that at this point, nobody has pulled this off or tabled it, so we'll have a vote. All those in favor of
Are we voting on the Lowell lighting?
the Lowell lighting, yeah, because we pulled it, yeah.
Point of order. I made a motion to pull it off, didn't I? I think I did. And there was a second, so you have to vote on that motion.
No, you already pulled it off. You made a motion to move it, and then the second so that we could have discussion.
So I didn't make a motion to hold off on approving this contract. Okay,
No.
okay, good deal.
Did I mishear it? Okay. So we've had a motion from Member Lofald, a second from Member Loeffler-Kemp. We had our discussion. I see for us to move on to the vote. So all of those in favor of this low lighting project, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Nay. This lighting project has been approved. Now we will move on to the next item that was pulled off the consent agenda, 1B2C2, the Lincoln Park lighting project. Do I have a motion to approve this bid, to approve this contract? Member Williams, do I have a second?
I thought we were going to discuss this.
Yeah, we have to go, we'll discuss it. Yes, yeah, yep. And so we have a movement from Member Williams, a movement. Member Williams has moved this motion forward. Member Sadowski has seconded it. At this point, we are in discussion about this lighting project. So let's, Member Lofald.
Since I pulled it, I feel like I should at least start it because I'm the one that have questions about it. And this is the one that I thought, just really, that's the first one I really studied, when I was getting ready for board work over the weekend. And I just really questioned the whole alt number, provide concrete bases for light poles, and how that kind of played into the base bid. And so I would just like more clarification on why that, what does that really mean in the process of accepting a bid? And so my thought coming to tonight's board meeting is I wanted to have conversation for more conversation from facilities from ICS about that kind of bid acceptance. I mean, it still goes to Wolf River Electric because the bids are $45,122 apart. So it still is in line with everything we ask. And again, I'm really not bringing these up, almost like Mr. Banks said, like with the intention of not going through and approving these. They followed our facilities, and Director Zunich followed what we gave them as board. So they did everything they did right. I'm just coming before the board saying, I have concerns about this, and we should have conversation about if we want to look at our process as a board to help us clarify companies coming for us and bidding on our projects so they have a clear idea of what we're looking for as a board. But I have concerns, and maybe I've talked to Member Zunich earlier, and so I know that it is a separate line item of materials and bids, but I just don't know why it's not added to the base bid. It would just make it easier.
Small.
That's okay.
Executive Director Zunich.
Yeah, I did chat with Facilities Manager Brian Brown about these alternates. It's typical to add these to a bid, but what we're accepting is the base bid of the lowest bid of $948. The alternates are, they're allowing the project owner, which is us, the school board, to compare different pricing options if it comes up that they want to do these different projects. Apparently, the lights outside at Lincoln sometimes aren't, they need help and they need extra work. So they put that in there. So all the bidders added the alternates, but the acceptance was based on the base bid. Those alternates does not mean it's happening. That's just an option for the school board to say, hey, if we choose to do a further in-depth part of this project, that's how much it would cost. So that's why you see on the letter, it says we're accepting the base bid of $948,000. And I would be more than happy to convey this information, to the facilities manager to let them know, so.
Member Sadowski.
I would just thank you, Director Zunich, for looking into that for us and clarifying that for us. So kind of what I'm understanding is, and this is what I thought we were doing, is we're, considering the base bid, that's our bid, and then these are just kind of options, the alternate. Like if we decided to do concrete bases for the light poles going across at the alternates, that's what each organization or business would charge us for that extra work, correct? So thank you for clarifying that. When looking at the bids, Wolf River Electric came in at $256,912 less than Hunt Electric. I still share Member Lofald's other concerns just about that gap and where it comes from. Hunt is a union shop, so we know that they're abiding by the strictest of prevailing wages and taking care of their workers with health care benefits and all of those things. And so, but we have a fiscal responsibility to the district as well to make sure that we're doing these projects with the lowest responsible bidder, and that we also have as I've said, I don't want to sound repetitive, but we do need to make sure, I think, moving forward that this company truly is paying those prevailing wages. That's going to be really important to me as I keep an eye on the work and get updates from our business services.
Member Lofald, and then Superintendent Magus.
So I'll just agree with Member Zadowski, and then I'll just go out on my own thought about the fact that we've got a non-union shop, Wolf River, from Isanti. Their workers are not from Duluth. They're not giving any opportunity to our workers here in Duluth to be able to work during the holidays and during this time of economic kind of struggles that we're all having. So I'm concerned about that, and again, it's no fault of our process or our work, our leadership here. It's a conundrum that we have. Maybe there's a lot of companies that do work like this, and they all are looking for work, so they submit bids. But I still will be looking forward to more conversation from board members about the fact that I'm not happy not giving work to families that attend our schools and do so much more for us when they give us opportunities. They donate monies to our clubs and our activities. So just a comment.
Superintendent Magus?
Yes, I think it would be good for us to have further conversation about not just these bids, but the bidding process in general, just because I try and listen for the center of thinking on the board, and sometimes sometimes it would appear that the board has sentiments about ensuring that bids are local union as opposed to necessarily the least expensive. And so I think we have to consider how does that play into our process, and maybe there's a need for a change in our board policy, or at least conversation around things so that and I think bringing ICS into that conversation would be good, because your concerns about prevailing wage and is there creep there, and I think sometimes there are questions as to, sometimes somebody might say that they're a union shop, but it might not be a local union shop. I think those are all questions that we've wrestled with quite a bit, and I want to make sure that I'm serving the board well and that the administration is serving the spirit of what the board is asking for, and also to Member Mikesell's point that we need to make sure that our policies align with what we want our practices to be.
I would say that I find this discussion incredibly, incredibly helpful, and I'm very glad that we are having the courage to go ahead and have these conversations around what does prevailing wage look like. Do we actually, within our policies and our bidding processes, are we actually making sure that everybody's coming in on a playing field that looks alike, right? So I think that these are good questions to have, and I think a larger conversation, I would definitely support a larger conversation with ICS and then us as a board to go ahead and wrap all of these concerns into policy or practice or whatever that looks like. I would like to bring us back, though, to policy 726 at this exact moment. Do we have the with, or I don't know what word I'm trying to, what exactly are we able to do in this moment with this bid moving forward? So I just want us to all think about the particulars of this bid, holding that in one thought, and then in the other thought, what do we want to do moving forward as we enter all of these projects? So that would be my piece to it. And then Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yeah, real good discussion, and I share many of the concerns about using local union labor. I guess as part of our process, particularly around prevailing wages, because once a company's going, you can't demand them to use prevailing wages. You can't stop that. So it might be helpful for all of us to better understand what prevailing wages are and how they work within companies. And so I guess as part of our process, that would be one. We can't just watch for it. We've got to have the knowledge of it as the project is beginning. And so I think, again, this is a good discussion. I think the education has to happen quicker than later, especially with these two projects we have concerns about.
Thank you, Member Loeffler-Kemp. Do we have any other discussion around? All right, so seeing no further discussion, we have a motion to approve the Lincoln Park Middle School lighting replacement. Seeing no further discussion, we will have a vote. All those in favor of approving this contract, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have approved this project with the caveat that going forward, the board has worked, well, there's no caveat on that. That's uncaveatable, but we do know and recognize as a board that we are going to do some work on this moving forward. And to Member Loeffler-Kemp's point, I think it is important that we do it sooner rather than later. So that is something that Superintendent Magus and myself as the board chair will make sure that we get moving forward for the board as a whole to have those discussions. So please feel free to reach out and hold Superintendent Magus and myself accountable for making sure that we get that work done. Okay, thank you to the board. I appreciate that work, and I also appreciate your patience with me today on this. Moving forward, we have some resolutions from our committee reports. The first resolution we have is B11 25 41 31. Member Sadowski.
Give me 1 minute here.
Switch gears.
I was still deep in thought about our process. I got it, thank you. So, resolutions. Going to move resolution B dash 11 254131. This is a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of an amendment to installment purchase contract and a supplement to declaration of trust and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of $9,080,000 in full-term certificate of participation, Series 2025B. So I move Resolution B 11 254131.
Do we have a second? Member Banks has seconded. Do we have any discussion on this resolution? Seeing no further discussion on the resolution, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, with Member Lofald, we have the resolution for acceptance of donations.
I move Resolution B-11-254132, and it's the resolution, the acceptance of donations, whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the donation in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth within. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to these various individuals and organizations. And there are 4 pages, and I know and Member Zadowski's are finance and HR, she said I would highlight some of the great ones, but I think they're all great. And so I don't want to read the whole thing. We've looked at them, but it's on Board Book, and I encourage our community to look over again the generous donations that go to schools like Myers-Wilkins, Ordine East, Piedmont, Congdon, Denfeld, Lincoln Park, district-wide. So lots of schools get lots of donations from our community throughout the year.
Member Lofald has moved the resolution forward. Do we have a second? Second. Member Loeffler-Kemp has seconded it. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Member Mike Sell, we have resolution on acceptance of grant awards to the Duluth Public Schools.
Yes, I move Resolution B-11-25-4133, acceptance of grant awards to Duluth Public Schools. Whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires school district to accept grants by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full. And whereas acceptance of the grant in accordance to the donor's terms is the best interest of the Duluth School Board or Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved, that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described grant from the organization in accordance to the terms set forth within. Be it further resolved, Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to this organization. And the author was Tracy Holosak with our advisor to our Duluth HOSA chapter, which are future healthcare professionals. As a current healthcare professional, I would like to thank Essentia Health for making a donation to our Duluth HOSA chapter so that they can attend events, travel, and have their membership fees and dues covered.
Member Mike Sells moved the resolution forward. Do we have a second? Second. Member Williams has seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Member Banks, we have resolution, yes, we have the resolution.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to move Resolution B 11-25-4135, a resolution authorizing the closing of the sale of real property with the street address of 24XX East Pioneer Road, Duluth, Minnesota. Whereas by Resolution B 25-4092 dated March 27, 2025, the board hereinafter the school board of school district number 32, County of St. Louis State of Minnesota, NKA, Independent School District Number 709, the district previously authorized upon the identification of a buyer and agreement to all terms and conditions of a sale, the sale of real property legally described on Exhibit A attached hereto, the real property, and whereas the school board has reviewed and considered a written purchase agreement for the sale of the real property. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the school board authorizes the execution of the purchase agreement by School Board Chair Kelly Durek Eater and authorizes School Board Chair Kelly Durek Eater to sign all other documents required to carry out and close the sale and conveyance of the real property and the performance and obligations of the district under the purchase agreement.
Thank you. Member Banks has moved this resolution forward. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ooh, I don't know who to pick. We're going to go with Member Loeffler-Kemp on that one. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Member Loeffler-Kemp, we have a resolution.
Just want to say on that last resolution, after we had that meeting, I actually went and checked out the property. Yeah, it's in my district. Okay, so resolution, I move resolution SP 11254136, school board attendance at 2026 NSBA Leadership Conference. Resolved that Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, pay cost incurred as per district policy for school board members to attend the Minnesota School Board Association 2026 Leadership Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota on January 14th through the 16th, 2016.
Member Loeffler-Kemp has moved the resolution forward. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Member Loffold has seconded it. Do we have any discussion? Member Banks?
I just have a quick question.
Please.
So with this resolution, is there any possible provision to provide opportunities for our student school board members to attend? Or is that specifically for school board members elected?
I believe it's for school board members elected, and I believe there is there's a different conference that has been moved forward for the school board, for our student school board reps, and that is something, member Superintendent Magus, I know that it came up this year, but I'm not sure that, yeah, Representative Dean, do you have any comments on that for Member Banks?
I was just going to say, I know I did receive a little bit of information about a conference, and I knew I had a prior conflict, so I didn't pursue more info about it, but I've heard of events.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I don't believe, right, Superintendent Magus, go ahead, sorry.
Sure. So there is a student representative training and mini conference that they have. I've been kind of pushing MSBA to maybe rotate where that is located, because it tends to be located in the cities or further away, and so I think it would be nice if it rotated from place to place a little bit, or maybe if they could offer maybe a couple of different events in a couple of different parts of the state, because usually our school board representatives are extremely busy, and for them to take an entire day or two off to do that is challenging. And to your point, Member Banks, as far as student representation, we're actually looking at having we have a couple of student activities that were included in the showcase. One was the culinary arts program was part of the showcase accepted, and so we're going to have them. We're actually funding a charter bus, I think it's a charter bus or Voyager bus, for our students to go down and attend the MSBA conference for the showcase. And then the point I was going to make, since my mic is on, it's not in response to yours, is just that I really appreciate the board's dedication to MSBA and the trainings we've had. I know some of the things that we wrestle with here are perfect examples of things that spending time with MSBA really helps us hone like we talked about, how it's really good to be able to have tough conversations together. I think that those are things that our are part of the training that people go through. And I just want to give a shout out to the board for always being very thoughtful in your membership and participation in those training events.
Member Banks?
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question, because I knew that there were going to be students from our district heading to this event, it would be great if our school board representatives, our student school board representatives could be there in support of their peers. And so I thought that would make a nice connection.
Yes, thank you.
Just
Member.
wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Member Banks. Member Loeffler Camp?
More for informational. Most years, there is a school board panel. I've facilitated it at times. We've actually, in the past, have had our school board members participate in some of those panels over the years that I've been on the board. So there have been some opportunities for kind of a one-day. Often our student reps can't commit to the couple days of the full conference. But you know, and then we've talked about other ways we've gotten students involved and made their request. We've had choir groups come down and a lot of other ways. But I would support working to get that school board conference, student school board conference, closer to home, because it is, I've noticed that it's always been kind of far away for our group. So, thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of support of the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I accidentally shut down my motion to adjourn, right? We have no questions or other? Yeah.
One other, sorry. I got to scroll through. Sorry.
No. Yes, Superintendent Magus.
Our lobbyist, Jeff Anderson, he has received responses from 5 board members for the survey for the legislative part. I'm not asking for names, but if the 2 who didn't could respond, that would be super awesome, if possible before Thursday. Thank you.
Can I add to that? Because I sent a response to Jeff Anderson, and he doesn't know, like I said, I don't remember, I think I did it. I can remember answering some questions, but I just couldn't remember. And he said, well, I really don't know who has and who hasn't, because he doesn't know. So I'm thinking, did I do it twice?
It's me.
Because is 5 really maybe 7? Yeah, so just, yeah.
And I may have done it twice too, because I did it right. I think I did it right away. Did I hit send? I'm not sure. So everybody should do it. I'm not stacking the legislative. I just think I did it.
Oh, sure. That's awesome. All right, do we have any other questions? Seeing no other questions, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Member Williams moved, Member Sadowski seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.